Good morning again. This is Brenda Perryman, and welcome back to the Brenda Perryman Show right here on TV 33, WHPR Comcast 20 in Detroit. And you can catch us streaming live at www.tv33whpr.com. And it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Truman Hudson. He is junior. I knew I said there's something else to his name. And you're the chairperson or the local community management manager for this national project, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Black male engagement, or as you call it, BME.
Be me. Yes,
Be
ma'am.
me. Be me.
Yes, ma'am.
Why
Be
don't
me. Be like Mike. Be like me.
be
me.
like me? Be me.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about. Well, first of all, tell us where you are. You from Detroit?
Yes, ma'am. I'm a from the north end. Grew up over on Alger. Spent my summers at the Considine. Graduated from Murray Wright High. Also a graduate of Wayne State University.
When did you graduate from Murray Wright?
1987.
Oh wow!
Yes, ma'am.
That's great times. Virginia Lawrence worked there.
Yes, ma'am. Excellent
Yeah,
basketball coach.
yeah,
Took us to
and
some state championships.
Yeah. And the basketball coach, Duncan.
Yes, Coach Duncan. He was
Right.
phenomenal. He's from Highland Park.
I know. I
Yes.
know. In fact, I taught his son over Ricky over at Southfield.
Okay.
His son was one of my students. But anyway, just such a great legacy that came out of Murray Wright High School. Anyway, and then what happened after you graduated?
Left Murray Wright, went to Florida Memorial College in Miami. Came back home, went to Wayne State, graduated with a BA in economics, and after while I was in undergrad, I saw that there was a need to really engage in community economic development work. So I decided to make community economic development my major.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
That was laudable, very
Thank you.
laudable. And so, how did you get involved with Be Me?
Well, Be Me has been a 25-year quest. A part of my whole economic development frame was trying to find ways to highlight the work that we are doing on the ground as it relates to black men. Oftentimes, the media.
What is some of that work?
Well, we have men that are educators, men that are in politics, men that are engineers, lawyers, men that are fathers, men that are sons, that oftentimes the media misinterpret or misrepresent what black men are doing. So Be Me's mission is to promote the message that black men are building prosperous and caring communities throughout the country.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you highlight these men once a year, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you choose what, 10 men?
10. For the past 3 years, we've inducted 30 men in Detroit, bringing in approximately $600,000 in revenue to assist those men with continuing to do the work that they're doing
How
on
do
the
you
ground.
raise the money?
Well, Be Me has been fortunate to receive resources from the Knight Foundation and the Open Society, but Be Me is in the process of securing resources from other funders and individuals throughout the community. So they're expanding beyond the realm of Knight and Open Society to get more people to buy into the message that black men are doing positive things in our communities.
You know, it just, there are so many good black men in the community. And basically, what you see on television is so much negative.
Yes, ma'am.
And we need to really pump it up and let people know that the black man is strong.
Yes, well, I think what's missing in the narrative is that when we look at asset framing, that black men not only bring a wealth of knowledge, but they also bring a wealth of capital. So when we look at some of the projects that Be Me is supporting, there's this one gentleman, Sid Taylor. He has a mentorship scholarship program. He's garnered $1.5 million and awarded $1.5 million in scholarship awards to black males that are going off to college. But those are the stories that oftentimes our media miss. And I think Sid Taylor's story, or another gentleman by the name of Brandon Jackson, who's working with youth and getting them into Ivy League colleges from our urban center. And I think total scholarship awards is 2.5 million. So when we look at assets, it's not just men being present, but also bringing in intellectual, social, and cultural capital to help advance other people and moving them along the paradigm into this new space of being who they can be.
Well, I want to go through some of the names here of some of the gentlemen. You have Greg Anderson. He's the leader of a youth academic and job readiness program called Project Next Level. Now, how I wonder, how do you find out? Say if some of my viewers would like to take advantage or have their son or grandson get involved with some of these programs. Will there be a way for people to find out how?
Yes, ma'am. We're rolling out a PR campaign, and we're working with the Ashford Agency on highlighting the work that the men are doing in
Very
Detroit.
good agency.
And working with Ashford, we'll be driving people to our website and our social media tools. So one of our primary website is bmecommunity.org. That's B as in boy, M as in Mike, E as in Echo, mecommunity.org.
Listen to you, as in echo. Um, Anderson, well, he'll utilize his award for salvaging the asset of future education, SAFE, program to create special incentives for employers to hire young black men who are re-entering society from prison. And that's something that's very important because a lot of black men come out of prison. The ones who come out of prison, a lot of them want to stay on the right track.
Right.
But sometimes they can't get hired.
The focus that Mr. Anderson is having with his work around men that are re-entering in society is also highlighted with the men that are not in that have not even exited society. So while we're focusing on those men, we're also looking at other men that are graduating from the Murray Wrights, the Frederick Douglass, the Highland Park that want to go somewhere. So we have Otis Bellinger, who's another BME leader, who's working with men and working with young men and helping them develop a positive attitude. And then we also have Mr. Bryant George, and he's working over at Madonna University and recruiting young men from the inner cities to go to Madonna University to pursue careers in social justice and criminal justice through scholarship awards. So he's leveraging capital through Be Me to help bring boys that are currently in our city so they don't have to go into the penal system. They can go into the educational system to continue their work.
Well, Jacob Rayford, he has an interesting one also. He's the founder and organizer of downtown networking event called Social Sushi Detroit. Will use his award to provide local youth mentees with resources, mentors, training, and help them attain success. And you already talked about Mr. Bellinger. And Brandon Jackson, he's the creator of the Greatness Camp.
Phenomenal program. Again, that's the young man that's working with our urban youth and moving them into seeing that they can go to a Harvard, a Princeton, a Yale, or a Brown University, and showing them that there are things beyond Detroit and that you can come back and give to Detroit after you attain your intellectual capital.
Yeah, that's the thing, is getting people to come back. That's very, very important, to get people to come back once they've attained their degrees and so forth, because we have been losing a lot of people, a lot of college graduates and stuff. But now, I guess with the rise or so-called rise of these tech firms and things that are happening downtown, they probably can stay. But I was very disturbed the other day because they had the guy from Amazon here, and they had these pitches from these startup groups who wanted to get this $100,000, and not one of the groups was black.
The great thing about Be Me, we have men that are in the network that are doing the technology work. We had a gentleman that was awarded last year, Keith Young, who was working with youth and teaching them how to get into coding. And Be Me is also rolling out a major technology event January 15, 2015, where we're going to highlight Dr. King's work moving into technology and showing how youth and people in the inner city can actually get into the tech fields.
Nice. Well, you have Daryl Redmond, and he seems to have a mentoring program that deals with conflict resolution.
Yes, ma'am.
And how important is that?
Very much so, especially when we're in a situation where the environment is continuously being portrayed as hostile, and our young men need to learn how to code switch and
Yes.
be able to move into different
and
spaces.
try and diffuse.
Yes, ma'am.
Diffuse. It was just an interesting thing. And we start. What age do these start? Because I think these need to start with the boys in elementary school.
Well, there's a gentleman that is our current awardee, Phil Black. He's working with young boys through his male mentor program in elementary school. So he's working over at Brenda Scott in Detroit. He's also working with River Rouge High and a few other schools throughout the metropolitan market. So there are men that are on the ground, and the goal with Be Me is to highlight the work that these men are doing. So if people go to the Be Me's website, they'll be able to see not only the men that we're inducting this year, but also the men that have been inducted in 2012 and 2013 to see some of the work that they're doing. But our goal is to continue the message and drive home the point that black men are assets and that black men are doing wonderful work.
Wonderful work, and I'll get to how we're honored. I want to mention some of the other names: Sid Taylor, we have Willie Wood, David Nelson Jr., and his is dealing with the raise awareness with HIV/AIDS among the LGBT youth, and that's very important.
Most definitely. When we look at disparities in the African American community, oftentimes we don't talk about a lot of the issues, so a lot of the healthcare issues go unresolved, and we tend to pass on various diseases because we're not communicating with each other. So,
and we have Dr. Lloyd Cruz.
Yes, ma'am.
Man Up is his program. Now you have an award ceremony tomorrow, right?
Yes, ma'am. We're having an award ceremony at Michigan State University Detroit Center from 10 to 12.
Where is that, on Woodward?
On Woodward and Mack.
On Woodward?
Or Woodward and Elliott.
Elliott. That's a few blocks from Mack.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I had to get I had to wrap it around. Yeah, and what will happen tomorrow?
Tomorrow we're going to honor the men and the work that they're doing in the community and set the ball rolling for all of the work that Be Me has planned for the year. So there are specific activities that the men will be involved in throughout the year related to education, health, wellness, and financial prosperity. So we have a series of workshops. Not only will they receive $10,000 per individual, but they'll receive some capacity building services to help make sure that their programs can go on in perpetuity, because when we look at most of the work that we attempt to do in our community, we don't have the support to really lift up the work that's happening on the ground. So Be Me is going to work with these men to assure that they can get the fiscal structure and address their own physical man and their spiritual man to continue to do the work.
And we have to make sure the word gets out there about these men, what they're doing. We got to be able to highlight them so people can stop with this perception.
Yes, ma'am.
Because some people want to hold on to the perception that black men aren't doing anything.
Well, it brings more capital when you can bring someone down and say that someone's not doing anything. But once that person can break away from that space, then that person can become a part of the system from a productive perspective that impacts someone else's pocket.
Well, what time is the event on Saturday?
10 a.m. tomorrow, Saturday, June 28th. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, tomorrow. What 10 a.m.?
10 a.m. to 12
at the
noon.
Michigan State Center.
Yes, ma'am, in Detroit.
In Detroit. Is there a cost?
No, ma'am, it's free.
Oh, that is fabulous. That is simply fabulous. Now, I have another question. I have so many questions for you. Okay. I have another question, and that is, if a man is running some kind of program for next year, I mean, how do you find out about the people for next year? What do you do?
Well, a part of our programming for this year is to start preparing men to come into the network next year. This year we received 529 applications. Of those 529 applications, 67 were pared down that we actually reviewed. Of those 67, we awarded 10. So there are numerous of men that are out there. But our goal is to wrap our arms around that 529 plus any other men that want to come into the network and provide them with capacity building services throughout the year so they can get prepared for our next round of funding, which will be coming up in March of 2015.
Wow, that is simply fabulous. And this is so exciting, and it's such a great great program. And we will, there's so much I want to say about this because I do believe in the black man, and all of us do, but we need to get it out there, get the word out, and everything. I thank you, Dr. Hudson. Everybody, black male engagement, that's the word for today. And we will see you in just a few minutes where I will be showing my interview that I had this week with Dominique Wilkins.
All right.
Yes, about diabetes. He has a program out about that. And we'll be back in just a few minutes with Table Talk with Brenda Perryman. Thank you.